Baku is the first street circuit on the Formula 1 calendar since Monaco and Canada, and it effectively marks the end of the European stretch of the season. It's an extremely tricky circuit to master, and certainly isn't one of my favourite tracks to drive in F1 24. With that said, hooking up the perfect line through that tricky castle section can be incredibly rewarding, and you can have some great battles through the first sector thanks to the long straights. In this continuation of our F1 track guide series, I'm going to run you through an entire lap around Baku. I'll look at the optimal braking points and the fastest racing line through each corner. Before I start with this track guide, we are on the path to 100,000 subscribers thanks to all you lovely people. So if you haven't subscribed already and you're feeling generous today, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button, it'll be much appreciated. But enough of that and on to the good stuff, which is our Baku track guide. Approaching the first corner around Azerbaijan will have you hitting speeds of about 350 km an hour, which is just over 215 mph. This means your braking into turn 1 is crucial if you want to even make the corner. Your braking point is just after the 150 meter board, and I like to use the lamp on the right of the circuit as a reference of when to hit the brake pedal. You should brake hard at full pressure and shift down to third gear. Use all of the concrete runoff to the right of the circuit while decelerating to minimise your corner angle. Then turn in towards the apex just before the 50 meter distance board. Try to carry as much speed as you can through the apex, just missing the inside curb and keeping your eye firmly on the outside barrier. This can easily put you out of a race, so avoid this at all costs while using some of the exit curb. Keep your car to the right of the track as turn 2 comes at you incredibly quickly. This time we're looking for the blue and red road sign as our braking point, which is right around 70 meters from the apex. Again, brake at full pressure and shift down to third gear. Turn in well before the start of the right hand curb and trail off the brake pedal as you rotate your car. You'll want to jump right over the apex curb, just missing the inside barrier, and start accelerating as soon as you reach the apex. Expect to have some oversteer as the car settles after that curb strike, so allow yourself some room on the outside to correct this slide. Then focus on maximising your acceleration, as turn 3 is another great overtaking spot. It can be incredibly easy to miss the braking point at turn 3. Keep your eyes pinned on the reference board to the right of the circuit, looking for that 100 meter board as our braking spot. Much like the first 2 corners, brake really hard and downshift to third gear. Get as close as you can to the inside barrier as the apex curb is completely flat, and try to carry a lot of speed as the corner exit is wider than you think, allowing you to use all of the track and then some while accelerating towards turn 4. Quickly move to the left of the circuit and watch for the 50 meter brake marker on the far right of the track. Hit the brakes as this disappears off screen, with a short stab on the brake pedal before turning in towards the apex. Once again, you should be in third gear at the apex and try not to take too much curb, as it's really hard to find traction on the exit of this corner. Use as little steering lock as you can get away with to minimise wheel spin as you feather on the throttle pedal. Turns 5 and 6 are slow but very flowing. Move over to the right of the circuit in preparation for the first left-hander and apply a short burst of brake pressure just before the 50 meter board. Turn into the apex just before the outside curb starts, ensuring you miss that large curb. The inside curb of turn 5 is really flat, so try and roll your car through the corner as close to the barrier as possible. Hug the corner all the way round before applying a quick stab on the throttle pedal and quickly switching your steering towards the right-hander. You shouldn't need any additional brake pressure. Instead, aim to hop over the inside apex curb aggressively to minimise the corner angle. Watch for any oversteer while accelerating out of turn 6 and continue hugging the left of the circuit. The braking point for turn 7 is around 75 meters and there aren't many great reference points here. Just keep your eye on the distance between the 2 brake markers and downshift to third gear before quickly trailing off the brake pedal. Then rotate in towards the corner just as the left hand barrier starts to curve away from the track. This is an awkward corner, but your best route here is to hop over the inside curb while applying a fair bit of steering lock. Gradually accelerate and short shift if needed to keep the rear of the car compliant. Turn 8 is possibly the most daunting around a whole lap of Baku. Start by positioning your car on the right of the circuit and braking at around 50% pressure at the 60 meter mark. Turn in, aiming to hit that inside barrier, as you will always understeer just past it, and it will look like you're about to hit the outside barrier instead. Trust your racing line, just missing the inside and outside barrier on the exit. You can accelerate up the hill as you get as close to the left-hand wall as possible before applying the smallest amount of brake input and throwing your car through the right-hander of turn 11. Coast through the apex in 4th gear, getting close to the inside Pirelli hoarding and accelerate briefly. Then lift off the throttle but don't apply any brake input as you rotate in towards turn 12. You can cut the apex aggressively while applying around 50% throttle pressure. There is a lot of runoff here, but keep one wheel on the white line to avoid an invalidated lap. Turns 13 and 14 are both flat left-handers, so follow the path of least resistance through these two corners. As you round turn 14, move towards the right of the circuit and brake in a straight line just as the right-hand curb starts at 90 meters. Drift over this curb while braking and downshift to third gear. As you approach the outer black hoarding, start to trail off the brakes and turn in towards the apex and prepare to fly. You can be incredibly cheeky and cut this whole corner, although be careful of car damage if racing with simulation damage enabled. Fly over the apex and accelerate as soon as your car hits solid ground, and keep some steering input applied to avoid hitting the barrier. The final real corner around Baku is turn 16, a medium speed left-hander. Brake in a straight line on the far right of the circuit just after the 100 meter board, and turn in right at 50 meters. You don't want to clip the inside curb too aggressively, as your exit here is so important. Start accelerating right after the apex and use some of the exit curb if needed, but really avoid getting beached on it by going too far over. All that is left to do is follow the path of least resistance through the kinks on the way towards the start line. The final right-hander of turn 19 is the trickiest, so watch the outside wall on the left to round out a complete lap of the Baku circuit. This track has a real mixture of everything with quite a lot of peril, especially through that castle section. Your car setup is crucial for a balanced and stable drive, and you really must prioritise a medium downforce approach with a much lower rear wing to maximise your top speed. This will make the rear of the car a little slippery in places, but too much rear downforce creates a lot of drag, and that will penalise you a lot down the longest straight in Formula 1. You can opt for a balanced differential setup, slightly increasing the engine braking a bit more than I've got here for a more aggressive approach. Your suspension geometry should include your camber all the way left and a minimal amount of front and rear toe. For this suspension setup, softer anti-roll bars will help a lot with stability, and a stiffer setup may be preferred for the fastest time trial laps. Use a standard brake setup with around 56% brake bias and minimise your front tyre pressures while keeping the rear pressures at maximum for the best temperature control during a race. Now, as with all of our F124 track guides, this video has been powered by Track Titan, and they've provided the throttle and brake traces that you've seen on screen. Track Titan is a sim racing analysis tool, and you can jump in with ACC or F124 and analyse your laps to a really detailed degree. You'll be able to access your own throttle and brake traces, your steering inputs, what gear you're in, the speed you're carrying, and compare all of that to other drivers. And the best bit, it can be used on console and PC. I'll drop a link in the description to Track Titan, and if you use our code SIMRACINGSETUP, this will get you 50% discount off a Plus membership for your first 3 months. And you can also use our code when signing up for a free membership to get more laps rather than the normal 50 that you have to try Track Titan out. And that will round out our F124 Azerbaijan track guide. Remember, if you haven't already subscribed, it will really help towards 100,000 subscribers and be much appreciated. And most importantly, enjoy the Baku race this weekend. But for now guys, I will see you all on track.